We woke up today to a mass shooting. We're finding out more details on it. It's out of Minneapolis, Minnesota. The details make a lot more questions than answers. It really does, because at some point we've got to realize that a very radical ideology may be playing a role in things like this. To that end, let me get with one of the best news reporters and former news anchor in Minneapolis, the boss over at Alpha News. It is Liz Collin. Liz, how are you? Good to see you.
Hey Joe, doing all right. Obviously, just a horrific day here in Minnesota, and sad to be joining you again under terrible circumstances.
And again, we'll get together at some point where we're talking about something lighter, but this is big news. You're there. You're the best news outlet anywhere in Minnesota and beyond. So just give me the nuts and bolts if you don't mind. I'm not familiar with this school. It's in Minneapolis, right?
Yeah, this is Annunciation Catholic School, right on 54th Street in Southwest Minneapolis. These kids, as their second day of school, school just started on Monday. It's a K through 8 building there, and they also have some preschool programming. And these kids were at Mass. They were at Mass at 8:15 this morning. When this deranged killer decided he brought several weapons to the scene and started firing inside, from what we understand, the stained glass windows into Mass. We know that two children were killed, ages 8 and 10. Also, three adults were shot at as well. They are being treated, and we know that six kids are still in critical condition, ages 6 through 15. So multiple children still being treated in downtown Minneapolis at Hennepin Healthcare, that building. We also know quite a bit now about this shooter who took his own life in the parking lot.
A little while ago, the FBI Director Kash Patel put this out. I'm sure you've seen this on X. Updates on the shooting in Minneapolis, Minnesota. And we'll go down to the bottom where it says the shooter has been identified as Robin Westman, a male born as Robert Westman. The FBI will continue to provide updates on our ongoing investigation with the public as we are able. Earlier in the tweet, he obviously says they're looking at it as an act of domestic terrorism and a hate crime targeting Catholics. What else do we know about this Robert or Robin? He doesn't say it in that post, obviously, but it's everywhere it's being reported that there's a trans issue. The mother changed this name from Robert to Robin recently. When did that happen?
Yeah, that's right. The mother actually seems to have worked at Annunciation, and it's likely that Robert was a student there. So this was when Robert was 16 or 17, from what we can find from the court records. He would have been about that age, and she signed off on this name change to being then called Robin. After that, 23 years old now, he is. Again, took his own life in the parking lot this morning. But you can tell how already politics are at play here. You have the mayor basically saying this, isn't anything to do with the trans community at all. This is all about guns. That press conference just took place here a short time ago. This Robin Westman has no criminal record from what we can find, just a speeding ticket as an adult. So obviously was able to buy these firearms. But again, 19 victims in all. And ages 8 and 10, those children have died. I've continued to follow the story on my X account, Liz Collin, and also
Okay.
alphanews.org. We've just released a statement from one of the eighth grade families, this eighth grader who was shot and luckily survived the shooting this morning, but his mom has a pretty poignant message, I think, that people will be interested in hearing after this tragedy.
alphanews.org. Go and check that out right now. Also, Liz Collin, no S at the end of her name. It's Liz Collin. Go follow her on X as well. So as we're seeing more pictures coming out, we've seen pictures of this person. We've seen this person looking more masculine, more feminine. We've seen a magazine allegedly from this person saying "kill Trump," something like that. So clearly Jacob Frey is going to try to divert the attention away from what really went on, how this person allegedly targeted that school because of religious beliefs, because of trans ideology, whatever. But that's not going to work. I wonder if the people of Minneapolis and all of Minnesota are waking up. Frey walks out today and literally says, it's not about your thoughts and prayers. These people are literally praying. So the mayor of
Yep.
Minneapolis, this guy who was on his knees in front of BLM through the whole George Floyd mess, this guy who knelt by George Floyd's golden casket, decided to tell all people who pray that prayers don't work. Liz, at what point will the people of Minneapolis say, we can't have these nut jobs running our joint anymore? We just can't do it.
It's very difficult, and you can actually see this backlash online to these messages they're putting out there, whether it be on their Facebook accounts or X accounts, or even in response to the press conference. This pushback that's taking place. Now, keep in mind, Minnesota became a trans refuge state not that long ago under our governor Tim Walz. Allowing children to come here without parental permission, essentially, and have a sex change. That is something that Minnesota seems to be very proud
I got
about,
to
or at least
stop you.
people on certain
There's a little
parts
bit
of
of
the
a delay
aisle.
too, but I got to stop you. We've got to delve into that more. A trans refugee state where it's a trans sanctuary state. In other words, the governor and the lieutenant governor, I'm going to show you a picture of her in a second, are saying, doesn't matter what your parents think, come here, we'll help you with that mutilating surgery.
Yeah, this is something that was at the center of much debate back when the DFL, which is the Democratic Farmer Labor Party, the Democrats of Minnesota, when they controlled the House and Senate, they had the trifecta, also the governor's office, and this was passed at that time. This became, kind of a flashpoint also with the governor when he was tapped as the vice presidential nominee at the time with Kamala Harris, and this made news as well. But that's part of the law here in Minnesota that you are able to come and receive treatments and whatnot. I've done extensive reporting on what's happening in our prison systems in Minnesota. We're paying for a lot of these surgeries and hormones for prisoners who decide to change their sex. In this case, again, it seems as if the parents were on board allowing this name change to take place. But you also see this narrative. They're trying to control the narrative here just hours after this horrific shooting, while ignoring, what I would consider many of us, think is the elephant here in the room.
It is Liz Collin. Go follow her at Liz Collin over on X. Also go follow Alpha News. AlphaNews.org is the website. Go there and see that statement from one of the parents of a child that was injured today in this horrific shooting in Minneapolis. So this is Peggy Flanagan. Peggy Flanagan's the lieutenant governor of Minnesota. She's wearing a shirt and smiling ear to ear, wearing another one of these liberal nut jobs, wearing those weird glasses. I'm not really sure what that whole thing is. Protect trans kids, for those who are listening on the radio, is what it says. Under the word protect is a knife, then the word trans,
Yep.
and then there's some sort of a flower or something, and then the word kids. Clearly, it is a violent image about trans kids, suggesting that she's happy for violence to be what we use to protect trans kids. Again, maybe I'm missing it. Minnesota nice is a thing. Maybe you guys are too nice. And at some point, that very geographically red state has to push back on the two counties that are pushing you blue. Why, Liz, can you tell me, even journalistically, I'm not even asking your opinion, journalistically, can you tell me what unfolded in Minnesota that made the trans ideology so important to Walz, to Flanagan, to people like Keith Ellison, and so on? What is it about that ideology that they want to take foot and take hold in Minnesota? I'm not sure what they gain out of this.
Again, I think it's a state where they see as a kind of prime opportunity. We are, I think it's been decades since a state leader has been selected on the Republican side. It's been quite a while. And also, we are the home of the defund the police movement. We have many people here. I'm a Minnesotan, so I speak as one of them, but they're not willing to push back or get involved, or, they kind of just stay minding their own business. But meanwhile, I think many of us feel that in a way that the state has been hijacked by many of these outsiders. Many of them are not from here, that have brought a lot of this radical ideology into the state. But I think, just a perfect example here that the media helps to play a role in this. I don't think any mainstream media has yet to even name the shooter or talk about the trans issue. Many of the media, they're using the she pronoun in their reporting.
Wow.
This is how things work here. So they've played a part in all of this as well. And keep in mind, this is the fourth shooting that happened in less than 24 hours in Minneapolis. There was another mass shooting yesterday. three dead in a matter of 13 hours, and then this horrific shooting that took place. But meanwhile, the media wants to tell us that crime continues to be down in Minneapolis.
Because they're changing what the actual definition of a crime is. Felonies knocked down to misdemeanors, or pretending like assaults or rapes are not really rapes, they're assaults. And if the rapist leaves, Keith Ellison said, the scene, why call the police? Call a counselor. So there's something very wrong with what's going on in Minnesota. You know the news coverage there. You were part of the news coverage there on one of the actual legacy media outlets until you weren't anymore, and now you're doing stuff independently, which is twice as good as anything they would have let you do there. What's likely to happen now? Will the people of Minnesota rise up and say, look, just tell the truth about this stuff. Let's identify when somebody's got a mental illness and maybe identify that we should keep that person away from having a weapon or having access to kids at a school. Something must happen now. Jacob Frey and Keith Ellison and Walz and Flanagan, they're all going to try to pretend this is about a gun, as they're all protected by guns, by the way. It's not about a gun. It's about an ideology that's being pushed from the top down. Will the people of Minnesota say enough is enough? There was an inflection point in New York City when they said, you know what? We're all very Democrat, but Rudy Giuliani's going to fix it. So in 1990, he won. George Pataki won in New York State, which was outrageous. Nobody thought that could happen. Can that happen in Minnesota where they say, I'm going to hold my nose and vote right because the left isn't getting it done for us?
I can only hope, again, as a lifelong Minnesotan being born and raised here, that's why I left corporate media. I really didn't feel good about myself helping to push these ideologies on the public or not give, a certain side of an issue that really needed to be talked about and people need to be educated on. That's supposed to be the role of the media, but it simply does not happen here. If it doesn't happen now over, dead children praying at mass, I'm not sure, what hope there is. But, I will say that a lot of the online chatter, just using these people in their own words and how they're already jumping on these, political themes in the wake of this horrific tragedy is really, I think, not sitting well with a lot of people. It's certainly a beautiful state, wonderful people, but better leadership is in desperate need, Joe.
I feel like people watching and listening are wondering, why don't you leave? And I'm glad that you didn't. I don't want you to. I think that I saw Tucker Carlson ask you something like this as well. You're staying because it's right to stay. You love the state. It's a beautiful state, as you said. And the people there, generally speaking, are very, very nice people. But the good people generally leave a place like New York or L.A. or Minneapolis or the surrounding areas because they just don't think they're going to make any headway, any sort of leverage, any traction against this weird thing that's going on. Can an issue like today, and I wish it never happened, but can an issue and an act like today wake up people who were sort of complicit through their just the ignorance of it? I'm going to ignore what's going on. It doesn't really bother me. Trans ideology, not a big thing. The kid wants to get a sex change, whatever. Well, people now say, let me dig in because something wrong is going on. And, but for the grace of God, go I. I don't want that to happen to my family and my kids. Will they do so? I keep asking Liz kind of the same question, and I'm hoping for the answer to be yes. They're going to rise up and say, no more Walz, no more Flanagan, no more Ellison. Let's do what's right for the people now.
Yeah, and all of these people now are currently looking for, basically new positions, running for promotions at this point as the pivoting is happening for the next political season. Again, that would be my hope. Even this statement from this mother of an 8th grader shot this morning at school. She's calling for armed guards. I thought it was pretty brave of her to come out and actually, weigh in
Yes.
this early on. Keep in mind, school resource officers, SROs, were taken out of schools for just about an entire school year under Governor Walz as well. This is post George Floyd, some things that were happening at that level. So we know how, in many cases, these political leaders think of the police. They were, certainly thanking them for rushing in and helping to save many people today.
It is at Liz Collin. Go and follow her at Liz Collin on X. Also, go follow Alpha News. Go to alphanews.org to see that statement from the mother of a child that was injured today at Assumption. What is the name of it? The name of the school?
Annunciation.
Annunciation.
School.
I was saying Assumption. Annunciation Catholic School in Minneapolis. Do you think that the media there, Liz, will tell the truth and admit this was a trans person that had a hatred for Trump, that said kill Trump, that just had a name change 5-6 years ago from Robert to Robin? Will any of that be told to the people other than by you and by me?
I'll just compare it to another horrific tragedy that took place earlier this summer, political assassinations of the former speaker, Melissa Hortman, and
Right.
her husband. The media was very quick to jump on the fact that they were sure that this shooter, Vance Belter, was a Trump supporter. That was in the news within hours. But it's interesting watching today how they're trying to withhold much of this information from the public when something is on the other side.
Do you think they'll bring in armed guards to other Catholic and Christian schools, other places that are so-called soft targets? I don't want to see us all living in a prison atmosphere, but at the same time, every single person that will lie about this today or hide the actual truth, like Frey and Ellison and Walz and Flanagan, they all are protected 24/7. Isn't it time that we protect the innocent people there too?
No, it's interesting. We saw the mayor of Minneapolis just at the Minnesota State Fair last week, and also the governor, Tim Walz, walking around the fairgrounds, flanked by security officials. I was at the fair during those times, so you can't avoid the irony of them walking around the fairgrounds of all places, with police surrounding them and these poor children. Um, were praying at mass today, and they were not able to be protected.
I will ask you opinion if you don't mind. Is it more than just Peggy Flanagan doing things like this that are showing violent imagery that can trigger somebody who's got a mental illness to do something stupid? Is it more than just her? Is this sort of a way of governmental life there?
Well, you should just go ahead and look at Alpha News MN on our X feed. It was just 2 days ago that Governor Walz had much to say at the DNC meeting, all kinds of rhetoric that he promised in the wake of this horrendous political assassination that took place that he was no longer going to take part in. That did not last very long, but if you look at any of our reporting from Alpha News, we are really the only media in Minnesota to continue to put that part of the story out there, because again, you never know what people what is wrong with them, and what could possibly be a trigger. But it's truly unbelievable. But these are so-called leaders, and this is the type of rhetoric that they continue to spew.
The Fall of Minneapolis.com. That is the documentary about what happened in the Summer of Love. That Liz Collin and Alpha News did that. Go to Alpha News MN over on X. Go follow her as well, Liz Collin. AlphaNews.org is the website as well. Liz, thanks for jumping on today. Very busy day and a very sad day in Minneapolis. Hopefully we'll get some answers to keep people safer in that great city, in that great state. Thanks for making time.
Thank you, Joe. That is the hope. Thanks for
All right.
having me.
You bet. We're back after this. Stay right here.